This is Rumi. I'm just kidding. His name is Rumi, and this is his roadmap to success. Now, one of the problems is barking, and I think it wasn't so much a little bit of demand barking, but I think really the problem was he didn't have any real structure. He was petted so much he didn't even have to ask his guardian for attention, and if he ever did, she would give him attention. He didn't have any rules, and he got to eat in front of her at times and different things along those lines. And all those things I think confused him into thinking that he had more authority than he actually did. Sit. Sit. I was a little bit late, but remember, anytime you give a treat, the treat should go in the mouth first, and they should hear the command word afterwards within 3 seconds. Now, and remember, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're reinforcing. So I give him a treat or pet him when he's pawing at me like that, I'm rewarding him for doing that. A lot of people, when they come home, their dog is pogoing and jumping up and all excited. We pet them. We're going to make them slightly more excited each time we do this. And eventually they'll get so excited they will have difficulty listening to us, just like us. If we're really emotional, we shouldn't make important life decisions. So we want the dog to practice being calm. When you come in and he's all excited, ignore him. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him. Don't give him any commands. Just act like he's not there while he's spazzing out. As soon as he calms, he has this sort of energy, then you can turn towards him and start to reach for him. As soon as you do that, he's going to get excited again and wiggle and start jumping. Don't tell him what to do, just lose interest. Turn away and walk around and go do whatever you were going to do before. Eventually, he's going to learn that when I'm excited, the human is not interested. When I'm calm and relaxed, the human gives me attention. Well, I want attention, so I'm going to stay calm and relaxed to get that attention all the time. Now, a lot of people don't realize for dogs, attention itself is validated. And anything, because anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're reinforcing, or if you're giving attention, you're reinforcing. A lot of us train our dogs to misbehave. Our dog steals our shoe, and we go and chase it. They bark at the window, we come and correct them. They jump up on us, we tell them not to do it. Well, we're training the dog to do these things because these are the things that get our attention. This is a little bit of demand for attention. I'm ignoring it because I don't like it. Crash. He did something I liked. I waited a little period of time, and then I gave it to him because he stopped trying to take from me, and he gave me something I wanted. So a lot of us, we train our dogs to do the wrong things because when it makes a mistake or gets in trouble, that's when we give it attention. When it comes and sits in front of us, we ignore that. We don't even see that. Crash. So that's what I'm doing right here is what I call passive training. Every time the dog voluntarily does something that you like it to do, crash. Within 3 seconds, pet him and say whatever it is. Now I'm scratching on his butt, this is fine. The best place to scratch, if possible, is under the chin. The worst place to pet is on top of the head like this. You can caress and you can scratch. Don't ever pat. That creates a down nose orientation. This creates an up nose orientation. Dogs that are proud and confident have an up nose. Okay, so when you come home, ignore him until he's calm, and then when you start engaging, he gets excited, turn away, and keep going back and forth. I call this light switch on, light switch off. Light switch on is giving attention, light switch off is I take the attention away when you do things I don't like. It's a little bit of a protest, a crash. So after a while, he'll get calm faster and faster. And because we're not telling him what to do and micromanaging him, he's learning the lesson on his own. And that's a much better way to be. Otherwise, you have to constantly micromanage your dog. Okay, now the other thing that I like to do in terms of positive reinforcement is what I like to call petting with a purpose. Petting with a purpose is simply if the dog nudges me or scratches me, paws me like he was doing, instead of petting him, which a lot of us do, tells the dog you're in charge of the human. What I do instead, if he's here and he's nudging at me, I tell him to sit. When he sits, I pet him on his chin and I say just the word sit. Not good sit, not, oh, what a smart dog, you sat down, just sit. Dogs go through associations, and the more words we use, the harder it is for them to understand, and they typically key on the first word or sound that they hear. So when I say good sit, good down, good potty, good come, they're keying on the wrong word. So we're just going to say just the command word. Now, speaking of command words, dogs are the only animal that can read human facial expression. So I like the guardian to come up with funny command words. You could say, position. We were trying to get Rumi, we're trying to get Rumi to come into the heel position, and we're trying to get him to kind of walk and then turn around so he's facing this way as he's coming in, and then we want him to turn his head and then face this way. Well, that's kind of a pirouette position. And so I said to the guardian, why don't we say that pirouette? So that's kind of a funny, so if you're walking and you say pirouette to your dog and it comes in as a half circle and sits down next to you, people in the street are like, oh yeah, that's funny, you taught your dog a pirouette? We just taught a command and we just assigned a funny command word. So when he lays down, I like to say crash. For the dog beds, give each dog bed its own unique designation. And try not to flip them from room to room. I like to keep one dog bed in the same place. That way he knows this is Venice, this is Paris, this is India, or whatever it is. Okay, petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is, like I said, if he demands attention, ask him to do something else. Passive training is this: come. He came on his own, I didn't ask him, I'm just rewarding him within that 3-second window. If you get in the habit of doing those two things, every time you pet your dog, it becomes a little training session. I'm gonna show you how to make him sit. I go in an arc like this, sit, and I pet under the chin. If I have a treat, sit, and then I tickle under his chin. But we don't always have to give him a treat. The best way to give him a treat actually is to make it inconsistent so he never knows when he's getting one, so he's always at his best behavior. Now, one of the things I like to do is give dogs directional commands. One of the rules is he's not supposed to be on the furniture, but we haven't really started that. Well, what if he gets on the furniture? Do we have to force him down? I don't like doing force at all. So what I do instead is I show him I have a treat, and I toss him to the ground. Off. As soon as he gets on, he gets it, and at that point, I'm going to guard and not allow him on the couch. I'm not going to do it for this video because he's cute and he makes good footage. But in the future, once the guardian does this, then and don't stand here like this, just be watching. When he goes up, flash your hand and block him. If he falls on the floor, we don't want him to get hurt, but he's not going very far. And after a couple times, he'll learn she's not giving up. Remember, dogs are all about what they see us do. And because we go to work and we're working at work, they come and see us at home. We're pretty lazy in their eyes. We're just lounging and watching TV. They don't see us doing all the things that we do to earn a living outside of the house. So for dogs, the more that we enforce rules and boundaries, the more they see us acting like leaders. Same thing with rewarding desired actions, behaviors, all equally important. But this is where we talk the positive reinforcement. We're going to talk about how we can add more structure. Actually, I'm going to have the guardian tilt the camera just real quick. Just pivot. You don't have to take it off. Just tilt the camera. So we just moved that dog bed there, and we went over ways to get it. Try not to zoom. Oh, I have flashes. Okay. And so he's already sitting there on his own. You can come back to me now. Careful your finger. There we go. And so giving him a dog bed, what I did is I tossed a treat onto the dog bed. When he walked over to get it, we said, Africa, that was the word for this dog bed. And then we walked away to toss another one. We did that about 10 treats. And then when he walked away, he wasn't paying attention. I threw one on there, he didn't see it. And he came back in the room, he's like, I smell salmon. That's the treats we're using. And we don't point out where it is, we let him find it on his own. And eventually he went over there and found it, and we said the word Africa. Now, I like getting dog beds on Groupon. I find that they're the cheapest place to get them. I like the Posturepedic or the memory foam ones, the ones that are kind of like a shape of a cushion. I don't like the ones that are like a duvet cover because like here you see there's lumps. I might throw a treat and it might be hiding behind the lump and you won't see it. I like a light cream, a light gray, or a white color. And I like the ones that are just flat and square or rectangular so I can take off the shell and wash it if the dog gets it dirty. But that way if I leave a treat here, that's pretty easy for the dog to spot. Remember, dogs are colorblind, so using a blue or a green kind of makes it hard, or something with a pattern makes it hard for them to see. Just have a solid color. And get a dog bed for each room. Now, at first, you toss the treat or leave the treat to get him enticing to go there. After a while, like right there, I didn't do it because we're shooting the video, but if I had a treat and he goes and sits there, I would toss a treat onto the dog bed. So he's like, every time I sit here, treats just fall from the sky. Yeah. And then I hear the word Africa. And eventually, after enough repetitions, I say Africa, and he goes over there on command. And have a different one for each room in the house that you hang out in. Now, I want to talk a little bit about maintenance. Let me finish the rules. One of the other rules would be the guardian sometimes eats here. Well, when she's eating here, I would imagine that this mat, that he's not allowed to be on this mat, and there's a line at the end of the table that cuts the mat in half. He's not allowed to go in this basically U shape. Now, I'm going to use the escalating consequences I went over with the guardian off camera to enforce that. Remember, the first thing that we do is hiss one time with good intensity. He likes barking the window. There were a couple times where he heard something, walked over there, and I hissed at him before he got a chance to bark, and he moved right away. Now, the hiss, remember, you use before the dog does the wrong thing. Once he does the wrong thing, or he starts barking, he won't listen to you. So then we would need the second consequence. So remember, first, I hiss one time per incident, and only one, 3 little hisses does not mean one hiss of tss. And have a level 1 hiss like a tss to a level 10 hiss, which is more like a tss. So you want to have nuance. Okay, so we hiss one time per incident, preferably before the dog does the wrong thing. We translate it to no, don't do that, or most effectively, don't even think about doing that. Second thing we do, I'm not going to do it because it'll cause the camera to be screwy, but I'm going to stand up abruptly. When dogs communicate through movement, it's a big, bold, sudden movement that communicates this is a communication, not just meandering about. So I stand up abruptly. When you stand up, your authority goes...
Low battery.
That's okay. Your authority goes whatever direction your hips are pointing at. So as the dog's going to take a step back, and as you move around the room, pivot, keep him in front of you, As soon as he's stationary, take 2 steps backwards and only 2 steps. Pause for 1 second and go back to what you're doing. If you sit down, he may come back again. Expect when you sit down him to lose some, you to lose some authority, him to try it again. Okay, this third consequence is to march deliberately at the dog until the dog turns sideways or greater away from you. At that point we stop, and then we go to the second consequence and pivot. The only time that doesn't apply is if the dog is in a designated no dog zone. So let's say the dog is here, I march it, he turns sideways, he's still not supposed to be here. I would keep bumping into him until he got across the threshold. That's the third consequence. The fourth consequence is a leash timeout. Put the dog on the leash, step on the leash about 2 feet away, wait for him to sit on his own, don't tell him to sit. When he sits here, wherever he sits, take the foot that's on the leash, slide it towards him to take the tension off the leash. When he lays down, he's calm, I very subtly take my foot off the leash, but the leash is still attached. It's dangerous to leave the dog loose on a leash unattached, only supervised. And after a minute or 2, if he's good, then we detach the leash. It's not quid pro quo. Okay, other rules would be not allowed in the kitchen when the human's preparing food, having to sit at the door, having to sit before you cross the street, having to sit and wait for permission for the food. Remember, the guardian needs to eat something first, and just eat 5 or more bites of a piece of celery or whatever it is, and then give him permission to eat. I would give the dog a command word to eat. Every time he takes his first bite of food, say feast, or whatever the word is. After about 2 months, you can say feast, and he bounces around, you know that yes, he's hungry. And then if you're on the road or somewhere and you need him to eat at a weird time, you can say feast, and he knows what to do. Same thing with potty. I asked the guardian what his word was potty. He doesn't really have one. And he does use a lot on walks, but it's nice to be able to say, do you have to potty? You can't do that unless we have the vocabulary. So every time that he starts to potty, we're going to say the word business, which is the word that I use. So as soon as he starts to pee or poop, we say business. Same word for both. When he gets done, I'm going to pop the treat in his mouth within 3 seconds and then say the word business the second time. After you do that enough, if you say business and think he has to go, and if he bounces, then you know he has to go. All right, let me see, what else did we go over? I showed the guardian a focus exercise. If you forget how to do that, message me. I can send videos to you, or you can find them on my website. But for the focus, remember 1 second, 1 second. And don't dip it at the end. The guardian was kind of dipping at the end. And don't say focus till after it goes into his mouth. And at the second day, 1 second, 2 seconds. Well, 1 second, 2 seconds, and focus. And eventually you want to get to the point 1 second, 20 seconds on this last movement. And now 15 to 20 seconds, somewhere in that range. So practice it in different parts of your house, all over the place, until he can do 15 seconds anywhere in your house. Then do it right outside your door. Then do it right outside your door on the landing, on the steps, then outside in the foyer, and then right outside your door. When you do it right outside your door, not with any dogs around. And then eventually when you're doing walking, we have a video above about all sorts of walking tips. Get all that stuff done first before you start doing this. But if you see another dog and he sees the other dog and starts staring, usually they stare with the lowered head. That's a first warning to the other dog. If you say focus, that other dog is far enough away where he's only given a very light warning. If you say focus, probably will look up to you. And then as you're walking, do this as you're walking. Don't stop and do it to him. And recognize if there's a dog that you know he's not going to get into now he's going to like, or he's going to fight with, move across the street or move around a car. If he stops, if he turns his head or turns his body away, that's a cutoff signal. He's saying politely, I don't want to approach that dog. Most of us just say, no, we're walking. We're not going to deal with that. We're walking past the dog. But to him, we're walking towards do. So as soon as he turns sideways, follow his lead. And then after a while, he's like, my human is listening to me. I don't have to react and lunge at these other dogs because my guardian is recognizing my signals and getting me out of trouble. And that's why we went over all the rules and structure to help change his perception of leadership. I'm trying to think, what are the other things we went over? We went over.
have to put stuff on the
Oh yes, maintenance, thank you. So what we want to do is we have some windows. We're in Hancock Park here, beautiful, one of my favorite neighborhoods. I work with Brooklyn, a dog that lives right on the other side of Beverly, and who would probably be a pistol if these two get out together. But basically, it looks down on the street. And because of that, he kind of stands up here and feels like he's in an authority position because the higher dog sits, the more rank or status they have. And he barks at the window, so he's practicing being guard dog. So what I'd like the guardian to do is go to Kinko's or Office Max. They have a big roll of paper that they can print banners on. It's 3 feet wide as long as you want. So just measure out all the windows, get the pieces, and put the paper on the outside of the house, not on the inside. It'll be like a little bit of a diffuser or a filter. The light will still come in, but he won't be able to see out. We have drapes here, but they're sheer and he can see through them, so it's not going to do the same thing. But if he gets in the habit of coming over here, but he can't see out, after a while he'll stop coming over here. So, and that's the whole point is we don't want to practice that. Now, if we have the dog bed back in the bedroom and it's in the one place where he can get up and look out the window, put an X mat or something like that on top of it so it's not comfortable for him. He doesn't get in the habit of doing that. Let me see, what else? The music, oh, you play a little classical music, or you can play Eclectic 24 on KCRW. It's the stream. You have to get an iPad or something like that to listen to it. Classical music is much better. Don't want to do talk, because talk usually causes dogs to get ramped up. But I mean, if you, like I said, if you use those escalating consequences, I think you're gonna have really good luck with those, because he responded to them really well. It's probably gonna be harder for the guardian not to pet the dog ad nauseum, but it'll take a little time. But she's already started to see a difference in behavior in him. She was walking next to a dog just a couple minutes ago that he always barks the lunges at, and that dog is pretty chill, but it doesn't take any guff for other dogs. And because he was relaxed, and we walked together, walking forward is how dogs get over things. So if there are dogs in the neighborhood that he reacts to, and the other dog is not reactive like that dog was, then basically just to ask the guardian next time you see him, hey, you know, I hired a dog behaviorist. He said that we walk the dogs together. That can help them. My dog stop being reactive. Your dog is still low behavior. Would you mind if we walk together? Just remember, when we're doing this, we have to all walk together. Human, dogs on the outside. Don't let them interact. They can see each other, they can smell each other, they can hear each other, but they don't interact at all. So we get to help them meet and introduce each other while taking some of the pressure off. It's kind of like going on a group date. It's a little bit easier. Let me see. Now remember, his job is to push your boundaries. So if he's being defiant, he's telling you, you know, I'm testing you to test your authority. Either you're going to win or he's going to win that equation. It's not win, but outlasting him. Remember, outlasting your dog and always following through are very important for dogs. Now, since he does like to run around, getting an exercise early in the day will be helpful. The guardian's been exercising but late in the day, so early in the day will be helpful. I had him chasing a laser. We have a nice long hallway, and that would be a great way. If you do that, keep an exercise journal like I talked about. And if you run him all the way to the hallway, all the way down here, and then back, maybe that's 1. And then count it. You know, you might say you need 15, hallway lasers or whatever you want to call it. But if he gets into trouble or gets really rambunctious, ask yourself, how long has it been since he's had exercise? If it's been a couple hours, that's his way of saying, I need more exercise now that I'm being rambunctious. Now, we could also get an iFetch. It was featured on Shark Tank. It's a machine that allows the dog to play fetch with itself. We put that right here at the end of the hallway, let it shoot down the hallway. He can practice running around facing the wall and angle it so it hits the hallway, so it kind of careens down. That's more exciting for the dog. Just check with your neighbor downstairs and say, look, I got this thing. You might hear pitter patter of feet. Is that okay? You might want to send like a little card or note to all your neighbors that he's been barking at, just to let them know, hey, I hired a guy. We're working on it. Here's my number. Please let me know if there are any more barking incidents. I'm trying to fix it. But getting him more exercise will help deplete that excess energy, and part of the barking is related to having too much excess energy. Let me see, what else? Anything else you can think of?
Oh, the bed. Not allowed to sleep.
Oh yeah, that'd be the other. No furniture would include the bed. And then at the end of that period, it's invitation only. So if I invite the dog up and he gets up here, he starts barking, now he has to get down. Or if I invite him up, he gets to drink water, which he's doing the empty water bowl right now, then he would need an invitation to come back up. Now, although I went over directional commands for getting down, I also do that for getting out. So if we want to teach him to go off this area for when we're eating, we set this up, and I'll show you right here. So what I'm going to do is I've got him a treat, and I'm going to just throw it right outside the boundary. He goes outside to get it, and I say the word out. So I would do that with each area, each portal in your house from one room to the next, as well as each designated area that he's not going to be allowed in. And that way, out. He's practiced going out.
What about if I'm cooking in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, so for the kitchen and for the feeding, for eating yourself, set it up for practice. Get some Canadian bacon or some regular bacon. He just went to the dog bed. I'll wait for him to land. Now he's looking for it. There we go. When we're going to eat here, get a piece of bacon, fry it up in the pan, and then sit down and pretend like you're eating it. That smell is going to cause him to break the boundary. You get to stand up, move him past. As soon as he sits or lies down past the boundary, then you can put your bacon away and get your actual meal. Here, well, he knows this furniture, but we'll start enforcing the rules after he's gone.
What if I want to eat the bacon?
You can eat the bacon too.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the whole point of the bacon is just to have a practice or a dress rehearsal for that. Now, we can also do the same thing in the kitchen. If we're going to cook, fry up some bacon or some Canadian bacon or something that's going to smell and simulate like you're cooking. And then if he tries to come in, we march him out. And as soon as he sits or lies down, then we put the bacon or whatever it was away. Then we actually do the real cooking, and he's practiced the behavior that we want. And remember, whenever he's misbehaving, ask yourself, have I taught him how to behave in this situation? If we haven't, break it down into individual steps Help him practice one step at a time over and over until he has them all, and then string them all together. Now remember, as you're going down the stairs, stop short going down the stairs. He can't run ahead of you. Practice opening, doing all the things at the door, making him sit. Now if you have, and for the martingale, remember, twist it to the martingale, extra loop is on his spine, attach the leash, run the leash around his chest behind both front legs, and then always go through the loop towards the head, never go through the loop towards the butt. I have I think I talked about the escalated consequences, or not my rules for a structured walk in the video above. But if you have any questions on that or anything else, please call or text me. Rumi, come up here, buddy. We got to finish this. There we go. Come on, buddy. There we go. Rumi, you're running out of steam. This is Rumi, and this is his roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.